Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis, your host. Today, check this out. We have something pretty cool in the studio. This is the TL130. It is the, on the box it says the TL130H. If you're looking for that, that's on GearBest.com. You can check that out in the link below. Please do that, that helps us out. We don't get any commission off this or any extra sales off this, just more drones for us to show you to review. So, what's so cool about the 130? It's a subcompact size little quadcopter, fits in the palm of your hand. I mean, I can show you some scale here. It's actually pretty freaking small. In comparison to other copters, why would you want this 130? Biggest reason you want a 130 is the fact that when you crash it, it has less consequences because it's a little lighter. And it's also very, very fast for how small it is. If you want to fly this in acro mode, or if you're a beginner that doesn't want to build this and you just want something to take out and fly that would be low cost parts to replace on here, really cheap ESCs, BL Heli, 6 amp, and I don't believe they're one shot, but they are programmable, so that's kind of cool. But it's a very, very cost-effective drone. It's very easy to set up. I'm going to show you here in Cleanflight in just a few minutes. But the biggest thing about this one is that it is subcompact, under 150 size. It is under the weight limits that the FAA puts on restrictions for drones having to be registered. This one actually weighs in very, very light, under 250 grams with a battery for takeoff weight. So I'll show you that in just a little bit. But they do other models. They do a 150 version of this one and a 120. I'd really like to have this 120. It seems that everything is kind of headed getting smaller and smaller all the time. We started out 2 years ago flying 250 size copters, and 280s were very popular, and we got down to 210, and we did 180s this year as well, very popular in the beginning of 2016, and now what's really popular is 130s and even down to 90 size copters out there, multi-rotors. So this one is very, very cool. I've already flown it quite a bit. It is a little bit dusty from taking some spills in the field. Okay, real quickly, let's talk about the accessories that came with this and the receiver options that you have for the TL130. First of all, in the box, you'll get this little cord. This little cord hooks into the side of the flight controller. You'll see a diagram that comes with it also in the box that will show you where this goes into the side of the flight controller. This comes on and off. When you get it in the box, it's just going to be a cable by itself. Go ahead and plug that into there. Make sure you don't damage your pins when you plug it in. Next up, they do give you some Velcro for putting on the top of the quad, which I've already done on mine. And there are video channels here. Make sure you don't cover those up so you can have easy access to those if you're flying with friends. JST connector here, very nice that they already did that. And then I put my PPM receiver, CPPM receiver back here. This is a FR Sky D4R2. You can get one of those, and that is an analog receiver. You can also get an X4R, which is going to be a digital receiver, and you can put that on there, or you can fly Spectrum. Also in the box comes 2 sets of props. You get green and orange. I went with the green for mine. And then you get some other cables here for hooking up to the side of your controller. And some extra foam pads. It does come with foam pads already installed on the bottom of it, which is pretty cool. And additionally, which is already on the copter, you get some extra bolts for your motors. They give you one extra, which is kind of nice to make sure you hold your props on. If you lose one nut, you can get some new one. I believe those are M2s, by the way, but they are kind of a special bolt going through there. It's a little different than some of the other ones. You probably get replacements from GearBest. There's tons of parts on GearBest on this copter if you look for them. The other thing about this is that it does have a pole antenna coming off the back. It doesn't have a helical antenna coming off the back, which would be super nice. But it's not a bad setup for the cost and for the price. Under $150 is really not bad at all. And I have my antennas coming up off the top of here with some heat shrink, and there are zip ties here that go up We just heat shrink around them, and that's a good way to keep your antennas up and give you the best range. Now, video range really quickly in the field. I did get way across the field with this setup. Even running this dipole or this single pole antenna, I really did get video range all the way across the field. So that's not bad. I'm not complaining about that at all. Okay, I got the scale all set up. Let's go ahead and do a weigh-in real quick. We'll do a weight with no battery. Everything else you need to fly. Props and everything on there. It's like 97 grams. Let's go ahead and add the battery for takeoff weight. And takeoff weight is right at 168. So not bad. That's 168 grams for this quadcopter. Pretty impressive. Under the FAA's regulation. And really quickly, I'll show you some size comparison to a couple of the drones we have here in the studio. This is a 180 next to it, so 130, 180, and then this is the Vortex 250. So bring the camera up here above them, and you can see that the 130 is quite a lot smaller than something like a 250. So if you're looking for something compact size, you can fly this in a lot smaller spaces. I actually test flew it right inside the studio after I got it set up in Cleanflight before I went out. Okay, really quickly, this is how you plug in the USB to the side of the flight controller. There's a little port right here. Go ahead and plug that cable into the side of that port. Now there's going to be a post here that's going to block this port. Go ahead and remove that post. You can actually fly without it. It's not going to hurt the structural integrity of the quadcopter. I leave mine off because I like to make frequent changes to my copter. So after you get that done, you've plugged it into the USB port connector here. Go ahead and plug it into the side of your computer. And then you can open up Cleanflight. And I've already got it set up to auto connect. Okay guys, we're in Cleanflight, and this is running Naze32 on this copter, so you don't have to update it because it does actually come with, and I'll just make sure it shows me the version here. It is a February 19th, 2016 version on there. There's a little bit of glare there. So that's pretty current. I'm just going to stick with that. I'm not going to update it to the newest version because I think this version will be just fine. If you're new to this, go ahead and move the quadcopter around right and left, forward and back, and you'll see this respond accordingly. If this doesn't line up with the way you're moving your quad from the front to back, side to side, you want to go into configuration and you want to change the setting on the yaw. Because what that's going to do is it's going to face the flight controller to the forward part of the quadcopter. You can go 90 degrees here, or you can go -90, but that's not important because they already have it set up from the factory, ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and check over some settings real quick in the ports. Everything looks good here on UART1. No GPS. We're going to do serial RX there. Let's see, configuration. Motor one stop, that's good. You don't have one shot, I don't believe, on these ESCs. I don't believe it supports it. We're going to go down to VBAT. Battery voltage looks fine. We want to do VBAT because we want to have some safety there. And PPM, I have mine set to CPPM. If you want to use SBUS, you can, and you can use Spectrum satellite receivers as well. You can hook those up to the flight controller. I'm using that D4R2, so I have mine set to RX PPM, and I have it set to Spectrum down here. That's totally fine. I'm going to go down and check out some more stuff. No GPS. You can turn on black box if you want and record those. Let's go to failsafe. This is pretty important. For me, I like mine to drop out of the air. If it loses connection from the radio to the quad, I fly in town a lot, so I want mine to just drop out of the air right where it is. I don't want it to fly anywhere. You can select land if you'd rather have yours come to a hover and descend. Make sure you put that minimum value in there. 1,000 or under, very important. I don't know if you can see that there. You might have to make this screen full screen to see some of these numbers on here. Hopefully you can see that everything is in focus. PID tuning. Let's talk about these rates that are programmed in here. From the factory, I was originally seeing 70 to 75 here on the roll and pitch rate, and it was pretty high on the yaw rate too. The yaw rate's not super important as much as the pitch and the roll are. You want to dial those down a little bit for this quad if you are a beginner. And this is for acro mode. If it's in acro mode, well, it's all the modes actually, but if it's in acro mode, it's going to spin and roll on a dime if it's really, really high. So if it's at 75 or so, dial it back to 60 and you're still going to get tons of spin and roll and pitch. So I dialed all those back just a little bit. I got mine set to 60 here, 60 and 50 on this last one. So I already flew it and it turns on a dime. Now everything here is already set up, receiver, everything is good there. I did add air mode on this and it will fly in air mode, so that's pretty cool. I'm playing around with that and having fun with that. Angle mode is kind of nice when you're taking off. If you don't fly in acro yet, feel free to fly in angle and horizon. You don't have to add acro mode or air mode to this if you don't want to. You can learn that later and activate that later. And if you want to go to the CLI, the command prompt, if you want to see what all the settings are on your copter, go down to the bottom here and type in dump, and you will get everything listed for you, all of your rates, all of your settings, including your Cleanflight version as well, what version of Cleanflight the flight controller is currently running. And we have a February 19th Cleanflight Naze 1.12. So that's totally fine. I'm not going to update it to anything newer because I think this will work just fine for this quadcopter. Sometimes if it's not broke, don't fix it. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll save this configuration on the copter and then we'll go ahead out and do some flying. One other note, I'm on a Mac, so when I first plugged this in it did not work, so I had to go to Tero's website and download their manual and their drivers. There's a Macintosh driver you have to install, and once you install that it'll open up in Cleanflight, but before that it would not. So if you're on a PC, most likely the drivers are already installed for this to load up in Cleanflight. But just fair word of warning for Macintosh users, make sure you download the drivers, install those, restart your computer, and then you should be able to load it up. Okay guys, let's go fly. Okay guys, here we are with the TL130 and we're ready to fly. This is a 3S battery that I put on here, a little nanotech. I think this will do just fine. That's probably what I'm going to run on this copter. So I'm going to go ahead, take off, and I'm going to show you some of the various modes. I'm also recording here in my Fat Shark DVRs, so we can show you some onboard footage as well. So that'll be kind of cool. So I'll go ahead and arm it. Got a little beeper on there, which is really, really nice. Go ahead and take off. And I'm in stabilize mode to begin with, so the Fat Shark should be recording what you see right now, so it should see me. So if you're a beginner and you're looking to fly something small and affordable in kind of a sub 150 range racing quadcopter, this one's really easy to set up, as I showed you before. In Cleanflight, just a few settings to get going. And you can fly this on Spectrum or you can fly it on FR Sky, JR radios. Not a lot of wind right now, so it is very, very subtle. You don't have to dial in any trim on these. You shouldn't have to use any trim. I'm going to bring it down for a second. I'm going to go show you a punch out. I'm going to go full throttle. You ready? 1, 2, 3. So a lot of power in this little micro. It doesn't want to come down. Now it does not fly like a 250. Don't get this one and think that it's going to fly as big in the air as a 250 or even a 180. It does fly a lot different. It is very stable, but it doesn't catch itself as quick in big maneuvers. So I was trying a little bit of freestyle with it earlier today, and the rates are pretty high. But when I was coming back down kind of hard and fast, a lot of times I crashed on the ground because one, I didn't time it right. Maybe two, it's only got single props on it, so it doesn't have like tri props or quad props on it. I think quad props would help it fly a little floatier. If you're gonna do big maneuvers and freestyle with this little quadcopter, if you want to race in sub-micro class, you could do that as well. But it's pretty fast with the regular props on it that come with it. So I'm in a pretty good tilt there, about half throttle. So I'll show you some full throttle passes real quick. So it's pretty quick, you guys. I like this one a lot. This is probably going to be another keeper in my quad cabinet. So let's go ahead and go back down into horizontal mode. Gives me more tilt, and I can go even into air mode and acro. So now I'm flying in acro, which allows us to do flips, and you see how tight that is with those rates that I showed you that are on 60% or 0.60. It does flip pretty tight. Sometimes the settings out of the box will come in pretty high rates, well, excuse me, low rates, so that your flip will actually be big. So you can actually flip into the ground if you're not careful. You want to check those flip rates way up high when you get a new quad. If you don't adjust anything in Cleanflight, make sure you go way up to try your flips in acro. But that's a pretty nice roll rate. Oh, there we go. And make sure that when you do crash, you flip your kill switch, because if you're in acro and air mode, the motors aren't going to stop running. So make sure you do that. So I'm going to take it back over here and do a quick little relaunch. Everything seems fine with it. It does crash very, very well. So make sure you pull any grass out of the motors. Everything looks good here. I have crashed this many times already. The camera sometimes does go back to horizontal. If you're flying in more of an angle, go ahead and prop that back up. But everything looks good here. Let's go back and do another flight. Okay guys, here we go, take two. I did crash on a line of sight flight just a minute ago, so here we go again. Gonna arm it and take off. Pretty good punch out. This is definitely a fun little copter. There's a bunch of micro class copters coming out right now under that 250 gram mark, which is really nice because they don't have to be registered. They're considered a toy. And this one is very fast with those 4000 kV motors on there. I mean, this thing will rip if you want it to. And I'm just flying in line of sight. What I really want to do is go ahead and land this thing, and let's do some FPV. I know you guys want to see that, so. But I gotta give this one, if I was gonna give it a star rating for what it is, I'd have to say about 4.5 stars. There are some things about it that I probably could demote a half star for. Like maybe a little better antenna on here, but since it's so small, you're gonna fly at pretty close proximity, so probably doesn't even need a helical on it. They're actually saving a little bit of weight if they have that pole antenna on there, so that's just fine. And right now I'm in horizon mode, or angle mode, excuse me. It's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and land the 130 and let's do some FPV with it, and I'll show you what those rates look like on 60. Here we go.